Can you kindly tell us a bit about your journey?
Well, a few years ago I was in the midst of a major depression. My dad went bankrupt at the age of 19. I grew up really wealthy. At 19 years old we lost everything. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I fell into call center by chance. I saw an ad in the newspaper saying, you know, no experience required, call center agents, try your luck, all of the above. And I applied for the job. I actually drove to the call center, got into my car, 5,000 Rand Mustang Beach, that's all I could afford back then. And as I started the call center, it went I stopped right there. I didn't have petrol money, I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. I walked into the offices with my CV in my hand and told the guy that I need to work here. He looked at me and actually said, Mr. Hugo Boss, because I was wearing a Hugo Boss suit that my dad bought for me when he still had money. And he actually said, Mr. Hugo Boss, what are you doing here? You're at the right place. And I told him, don't look at this suit. I just stuck downstairs. I don't have money. I need to get this job. He looked at me and he said, okay, fine. Come into my office, tell me your story. And I actually just broke down and cried because I was so emotionally drained at that stage in my life. He gave me the product. I learned it for the day and he told me if I can make a sale that day, I can come back the next day. I sat until 10 o'clock at night. The call center closed at 5. Everybody left. And I made my first sale at 10 o'clock to a lady who said, call me mama. She was living in the Eastern Cape. I sold an antiretroviral 29 Rand a month package, 2L1 direct. And the title of my first book today is called Mama, I Sold You. It actually tells my journey of how I fell into call center sales, how I became an entrepreneur. Owning 8 call centers today, 8 different annuity products. I employ close to 200 people across these call centers in South Africa. And it all started with Mama back then. Hence the title of my first book, Mama, I Sold You.
So what is your personal definition of success?
Well, I would say success is not so much measured by what you have achieved in life, but rather by the obstacles you have overcome in order to succeed. Everybody has a different success barometer, a different success level. I would take an example. Everybody always says Donald Trump was so successful. He inherited his first multi-million-dollar building when he was a young guy from his dad. Now if you're giving a guy such a big head start, surely his measurement of success should be much higher than someone who's coming from a ghetto, who's made it to be a millionaire today, or who's actually just made a life for himself from nothing. Surely the success measurement should be different for everybody. So I would always tell people that success is not measured by what you have achieved, but by the obstacles you've overcome in order to succeed.
What challenges do you still face in your businesses?
Well, there's always challenges in businesses. Everything you do as an entrepreneur is a challenge. I would always tell people that entrepreneurship is a way of life. I don't sleep, as you can see, my eyes are blood red because you're always pumping. A lot of people always say that you have it easy and as an entrepreneur success came easy, but you are still every day, you are still pushing. It never stops. So challenges come every day in business. One of the biggest challenges I focus at the moment, well, that I'm finding at the moment is there's too little of me. I always said that if I can clone myself or find millionaires, I would be able to do more. But what I try and solve that is to try and empower people, find the right people. I always say that you need to always network. So I see 100 people a year to find 3 or 4 that I could do business with, that think like me and could do things on my level. Or if I can't do that, I would obviously train someone up to be able to do it. But challenges are always there. You can never plan. The only person that can plan for you is God. All you can do is you can plan and try your best to foresee what can happen in the future. But at the end of the day, God will plan for you. When I was 26 years old, I had my company. I don't want to mention the company's name, but I had a financial services company. And I actually became really cocky where I said that, money was just coming and you were living well. You were literally living like a cowboy, just buying things left, right and center. Spending 1,000 Rand on a meal because you can. And someone actually told me that you must be thankful to God. And I made the comment, and I get really emotional when I say this. I actually made the comment that God's not doing it, I'm doing it. And God helps those that help themselves. And 3 months later I lost that business. And I so firmly believe it because I was too arrogant and I didn't really thank God enough for where I'm at. And today I do things differently. I'll always tell people if they ask me this question, how can you plan? I would say I can do my best, but at the end of the day God plans for you.
What is your definition of a true leader?
A true leader obviously leads by example. You have to take the front, you have to be firm, your people need to respect you, but you also have to lead by example at all times. You've got to be the guy who's doing the hard work, you've got to be the guy who's actually grafting and putting in the long hours. I'm the first one to get to my business, I'm the last one to leave. I've always maintained that a good leader needs to be there first and he needs to be there at the end. If times are tough, show your face. Don't stay away. A lot of people get it wrong. They would say when times are tough that I pay people to do the work for me. Now, when times are tough, make sure that you are the guy leading by example. My second book called The Next Best Thing actually has a couple of chapters on leadership and the different leadership styles. Remember, I can name probably 100 different types of leadership styles. I would say the participative leader is the best leadership style. If you can find a blend between a bit of authoritative leadership, because sometimes you gotta, obviously being the leader, you are the best guy to make the decision. And where a lot of people get it wrong is that they will consult too many people. I am the expert in what I do. If the decision needs to be made in my field, I will make the decision. If I am not an expert in that field and I can't make the decision, I will consult people and have a collective decision. So I would always say a bit of authoritative, a bit of cooperative, and if you can get that blend together, you've got the perfect leadership portfolio, leadership way.
Right, and one of the biggest challenges for young entrepreneurs is fear. So how did you overcome your fears?
I haven't overcome my fear. Fear still drives me. I always said that, my mom always says that, she says that my ambition is going to kill me one day. My fear of not having money and being in that place that I was when I was 19, semi-homeless. When I say semi, we didn't have a roof over here. I was staying with family and sleeping in my car, and I can't call myself homeless because you obviously had people that you could stay with. My biggest fear is not having money and going back to that space again. And sometimes it can be a bad thing. My life coach always tells me that you're at the space in your life where you are successful. Why do you still have that fear? But I will always have that fear of not having enough money to be in the space where I am, the space where I'm comfortable. My fear drives me. My fear is what keeps me alive. It's what keeps me going. Whenever I get into a comfort zone, fear drives me. Now, if you can manage your fear properly, a lot of people are saying you shouldn't fear. I say do fear. Fear not having enough. Fear being back into that place where you were. Fear. I've got to say, good enough doesn't cut it. People who are happy with good enough, first of all, they cheat themselves because they are not reaching their full potential. They cheat their family because they're not looking after and giving their kids the life that they deserve. My third book is called Good Enough Doesn't Cut It. It will be out probably by next year. I'm busy writing it now. And it is all about challenging yourself, taking it to the next level, and having fear drive you. Fear of seeing your kids on the street. Fear of not being able to support people, not being able to support people that are close to you. And that is what I would say is, my good enough barometer will always be pushed to the next level.
Alright, like on Forbes list, for example, we've seen quite a lot of billionaires and millionaires,
yes,
and those that are considered highly successful.
Yes.
We've seen that a lot of them are dropouts. What is your advice to young entrepreneurs regarding education?
Well, I dropped out of varsity. You know my story. I dropped out of varsity at 19 years old. I went to Stellenbosch University. My dad lost everything when I was 19, and I was sort of forced to drop out of varsity. I would say education is important. I've got a saying where I would always say that formal education will make you a living. So you need formal education. It will make you a living. It will equip you to get a job. It will make you employable. But self-education and sales education will make you a fortune. So if you can blend the two, where you have a good formal education, but at the same time you have a self-education and sales education. Everything in life is sales orientated. You ask a girl on a date, what do? You're selling yourself. You have an interview for a job, what are you doing? Selling yourself. What am I doing at the moment? Selling myself. Everything in life is sales related. So if you can find a blend between formal education, self-education, obviously through experience, and most importantly sales education, I think you have a proper recipe for success.
What is the worst advice that you've ever received? Business advice.
Worst advice that I've ever received in business probably must have been don't take risks. I've had the luxury of having a couple of businesses, and I've got good partners. I do business with Cornet Creek, I do business with Tracy McGregor, I do business with Juan de Jong. I've got a good network around me in my entities. But the worst advice I got was from a guy, I won't mention his name, I would call him Mr. Potato Head. He's actually in my book as well. He'll know he is if he watches this program. Mr. Potato Head told me that stop taking so many risks, play it safe. there's no need to want more. Why do you want to push so much more? Why do you want to push it to the next level? You're comfortable where you are. I would say for any entrepreneur or businessman, always take risks. It's part of the package of the parcel. You need to fail 100 times to get to being successful. They say that it takes you 10 years to get overnight success. It's not going to happen immediately. So that is the worst advice I ever got.
Now, to all the young entrepreneurs watching the show, what advice or top 3 points would you give them to use in their businesses?
I would say attitude and ownership is everything. That is number 1. Have the right attitude and take ownership in whatever you do. Remember, you are your product, so take ownership for what you are doing. Second, I would say that the first sale in life is to sell you to yourself. If you're not sold in your importance, nobody else will be. How can you sell yourself to someone else if you don't see yourself as important? So sell yourself first, to yourself. Sell you to yourself before you try and sell yourself to somebody else. Do you understand? That sounds a bit gibberish, but that is important. And then the third thing I would say, that what I spoke about earlier, good enough doesn't cut it. Always push that boundaries, push that barometer. Everybody has a good enough barometer. Good enough is when, I want to make an example, when South Africa loses to the All Blacks by 1 point, people say that's good enough. We just lost by 1 point. Rubbish, that's not good enough. Good enough is beating the All Blacks 5 times out of 6 times with 2 or 3 points, saying that we are number 1 in the world. That is good enough.
As an entrepreneur, when will you say that you have now made it?
I want to answer that question by saying that when I was 26, I always said that if I can earn 5 times my age, I'll be really happy. That 2 years ago that changed. So there's never a good enough. I don't know, as an entrepreneur, you're always pushing yourself. You know, some of us have that. I said it earlier, that my ambition could be my downfall and it could also be my biggest asset. You're always pushing yourself to the next level. So I don't know. I want to, in Wall Street 2, the movie, and I don't want to quote, what's his name, Matthew Brolin or James Brolin, I can't remember his name. They asked him that, what is his number, and he said more. I don't want to do that. I don't want to sound greedy and say that my number is more. But part of what I do is I like creating jobs, and I feel that I've got a skill to form companies to create jobs. I employ close to 200 people throughout my companies, and I'm always looking to empower people and to create jobs. Yes, every entrepreneur loves money. Every entrepreneur loves to push it to the next level. If an entrepreneur tells you he doesn't like money, he's lying. It's all about the cash. We're all chasing that money to have a good lifestyle, to look after people. But at the end of the day, it should also be about giving back. And I give back by creating jobs. So I don't know if I'll ever stop. It's who I am, it's what I want to do.